Okay. Our next concept is here why we use digital communication. So actually why we use digital communication, because there are so many advantages we have already done for the digital techniques or the digital representation. But here we will discuss the three factors on three factors depending on that factors, we came to know that why we need the digital communication. First is your effect of noise. Okay. Factor in the case of analog communication, the objective of the objective is that to transmit a waveform that is shown in the next slide. So the signal that will be transmitted in the analog is like this, and the if I am sending the analog signal, and I am also receiving the analog signal in the analog communication, so it will be in the distorted form. So we can say that, but in actually it means that the shape of the transmitted signal gets distorted. So that's why we are using the digital communication, and these that signal is distorted because due to the adequacies of your communication channel. Actually, information is contained in the shape of the waveform. As you can see in the diagram, the information is in the form of your waveform. And actually, we have to preserve that waveform, shape of the waveform. But you know that noise will distort the waveform. Therefore, received information will also be distorted. So now we will consider the digital. Now you can see in this diagram, if we are sending the square wave signal in the digital transmission, so the received signal in the digital transmission is approximately to the correct information that is sent already. So if we consider the transmission of digital signal, you can see to transmit such a binary signal, the objective is to transmit either 0 or 1. So the task of the receiver is to identify whether the symbol 0 or 1 is to be received. So the received waveform is distorted, also shown in the distorted form, but still receiver is able to detect that signal or take the correct decision. So therefore, actually the digital communication actually the digital communication is more immune to noise, actually more immune to noise as compared to your analog communication. So digital communication, in case of digital communication, factor of noise will be less. So this was the first factor that tell us about that why we need digital communication. Next point is your digital communication is suitable for the longer distances or the distance to be covered. So you can see in the diagram, we have the source, then repeater, then again repeater, and then destination. So in the case of digital communication, it becomes cost effective. It becomes cost effective over the analog communication if the distance involved is large. So you can see the diagram as the signal from the source travels a distance from source, and its amplitude will reduce due to the attenuation. So in addition to that, also the signal will become increasingly distorted. So the noise from various sources gets added to that signal. And in the case of digital communication system repeaters, digital communication system repeaters are used between the destination and the source. You can see in the source and destination we are using the repeater. So what is the function of actually the repeater? The repeaters are actually basically regenerators of signals. They receive the signal plus noise at their input. They will actually receive the signal and plus noise at their input and separate out the signal from the noise and regenerate the signal actually which is free from the noise. Due to the use of repeaters, So the noise performance of digital communication systems is much better than that of analog systems. So repeaters cannot be used for analog communication systems. So repeater can only and only can be used in digital communication, and the operation of the digital repeater, we can understand the operation of the digital repeater with the help of a diagram. Next is, this is the actually the diagram for the digital repeater. So operation of a digital repeater is much clear from this figure. So this as you can see in the diagram, a digital repeater will receive the signal which is composed of signal plus noise. Then it will create a regenerated signal free from the noise, means noise will be eliminated from that. So if noise will be eliminated, then we can do the long distance communication using the digital communication. Now the third factor was services provided. So in this factor, we can understand that the network based on digital transmission are capable of handling any type of information which can be represented in the form of, in the digital form actually. So hence such type of networks can handle many type of services. So these are some of the advantages, or you can say factors, that tell us about that why we need digital communication. So this completes here this topic. Is fundamental limitation of communication system. So there are three types of fundamental limitations of communication system. First is your noise limitation, second is bandwidth limitation, and third is equipment limitation. Okay, in the case of noise limitation, we came to know that actually what is a noise? Noise may be actually defined as an unwanted form of energy which tend to interfere with the transmission and reception of the desired signals in a communication system. So the noise cannot be eliminated completely. However, the effect of the noise on desired signals can be minimized with the help of several techniques. And further, we can divide the noise into two types. One is your internal noise, and second is your external noise. Okay. In the example for the external noise is an atmospheric noise and the industrial noise. Actually, the noise which whose sources are external to the communication system, that type of noise is known as your external noise. On the other hand, actually the internal noise is that type of noise in which whose sources are internal to a communication system. And the examples for the internal noise is actually thermal noise, short noise. These all are under the category of your internal noise. And this type of noise is inevitable in every communication system. And these are the basic actually limitation on the transmission and the reception of the signal. So actually, noise limits our ability to identify the intended or desired message correctly, and thus limits information transmission. Typically, actually, noise variations are measured in the microvolts, and in long distance communication systems operating with a limited amount of signal path, the signal may be small as noise or even smaller than the noise. Thus, in such type of cases, the presence of noise severely limits the capabilities of a communication system. So, noise is a major limitation in the case of your communication system. Next is your bandwidth limitation. Okay. In addition to noise, actually, the bandwidth limitation is also another major constraint in the case of your communication system. And the frequency range, actually what is the bandwidth? It's a frequency range or band of frequencies needed for a particular given transmission is known as your bandwidth. And this band of frequencies required for a particular transmission is called the channel. So we can say that we have was sufficient allocated bandwidth should be sufficient to convey the entire information. But for a given transmission, this allocated bandwidth may not be sufficient, and the band of frequencies for a particular transmission is always allocated by a international regulatory agencies, and so that we can avoid the interference among the signals having the same frequency. So actually what is actually the information theory states that the more is the information that can be transmitted, the more greater the transmission bandwidth is required. Suppose we have a signal that is of having 15 kilohertz information, and if we want to send that, then we need a bandwidth of the 2 times that, means that is 30 kilohertz. But if I am using the AM radio, then it will be of your 5 kilohertz, and the bandwidth required for that is 10 kilohertz. So always and always FM receiver can easily reproduce the transmitted information without any distortion. But AM radio receiver cannot produce all the information contained in the music because of your bandwidth of needed is 30 kilohertz. So all the in the common life we are always listening to the FM radio than a AM radio. So we can, in the last we can say that bandwidth also is a major fundamental limitation of a communication system. Now last constraint is your equipment limitation. Equipment limitation, actually the noise and bandwidth limitations dictate statically what can or cannot be achieved in terms of performance in the communication system. However, this theoretical limit may not be realized in a practical system due to the equipment limitations. For example, actually the theory might require a bandpass filter with the quality factor of 100 at a center frequency of 1 kilohertz. But such type of filter can't be realized in practice. Even if a filter with nearly identical characteristics is built, the cost may be exceed what the user of the communication system wants to pay. Actually, so the equipment limitation is another major problem in a communication system. So also three base. So these are the major three limitations in the case of your communication system. Okay. In this case, now you can see the diagram. So actually we know that in communication system, sometimes it happens that we have the analog signal. Then we should convert it into the digital form. So conversion process is shown here in this diagram. That is analog to digital conversion, how it is possible. So it means converting, we are just converting the continuous time signal, that is you can see in this diagram. This is analog in nature, and we are converting it into the digital form. Firstly we will convert it into the sampled form, and then we will convert it into the quantized signal. So to see how a signal can be converted from analog to digital form, let us consider we have a analog signal. In the first A part we have an analog signal. Then in the second step, we will apply the sampling theorem. As you know, sampling theorem states that FM should be greater, FS should be greater than 2 FM. If we take the samples, then from that samples we can reconstruct the signal, our signal at the receiver side. So first of all, we get sample of this signal according to the sampling theorem, And for this purpose, actually, we mark the time instance like T0. You can see time instance marked as T0, T1, and T2. So we have marked the T1, T0, T1, and T2. Then at each of these time intervals and instance, the magnitude of the signal is measured. Actually, we can measure the amplitude of the signal using this at this moment. As you can see in this, at the T0 we have the magnitude like this, and T1 magnitude is more than T0, and T2 is also more than. So means we can measure the magnitude at this instance. So then we have taken the samples. Actually, we have taken the samples of the regional signal. Now we can say that the signal in the figure B is only at the sampling instance, means no longer it will be in the continuous nature, because you can see in this diagram, in between the two interval like T0 and T1 or T1 and T2, there is in between no value, means that type of signal becomes in the discrete in nature. So this is the discrete time signal. So however, since the magnitude of each sample can take any value in a continuous range, but still it is in the discrete in nature. So this difficulty, actually we have the magnitude still in the continuum. So this we have to remove this type of difficulty, because we don't need continuous range of your magnitude. So this difficulty is resolved by the process of actually quantization in the C diagram. When the quantization process is done, in quantization, actually the total amplitude range which the signal may occupy as is divided into a number of standard levels. We have divided it into the number of standard levels, and the range for that is plus MP to minus MP. And the allowed, this is written as, this is at the vertical axis, it is allowed quantization level, and this is the quantized signal, this is the sample, and this is the analog signal. So we have quantized here our XT signal, means analog signal, and this is the quantized sample. Actually, these are the quantized sample of XT, and we have the range minus MP to plus MP, and which is partitioned into L intervals, capital L intervals, and the each of and the magnitude of each L interval is given by delta V, that is 2 MP by capital L, that by this formula. Now each sample actually is approximated or rounded off to the nearest quantized level shown in the diagram. So since each sample is now approximated to one of the L numbers, therefore the information is in the digitized form. So we have converted our analog signals into the digital form. So the quantized signal is an approximation. Actually, quantized signal is the approximation of your original one. So we can improve the accuracy of the quantized signals to any desired degree simply by increasing the number of levels. Means by increasing the number of levels, means by increasing the L. So we can increase the accuracy. So this process shows us that how an analog signal is converted into the digital signal. Okay, as you can see on the blackboard that we have to convert the analog digital conversion process using the block diagram. We can understand this. So first block is here actually sampler. Sampler is used for the sampling purpose. Actually, the analog signal is applied to the at the input of the sampler. Means analog signal is applied to the input of the sampler, and the sampler is like a switch. Actually, sampler is like a switch, and which samples the input signal at regular intervals of time and produces the discrete version of the input signal. As you can see, sample signal that is in discrete in nature. You can see on the above that is in the form of your sample. Next block is your quantizer. You can see this is the sample signal. This is the sample signal. Next block is your quantizer, or the quantization process is done by your quantizer. Actually, quantization is a process of Approximation, actually the quantization is the process of approximation or rounding off, rounding off your value. So quantization approximates each sample into nearest standard voltage level called the quantization level, and the quantization levels can be in the power of 2, like 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. So this after this quantization we will get this type of output that is in the quantized form. And next block is last block is the encoder. Encoder actually converts the quantized sample into the distinct code words, means like 1100 triple one, means that is converted by the encoder, and the output of the encoder, actually we get the digital code words at the output of the encoder. So this was the actually process of your digital analog to digital conversion. Now next we will see that how it will convert it. Encoder will convert these signal, convert your quantized signal into the digital. Next is your graphical representation of A to D conversion process. Actually, in the shown diagram, it illustrates actually the A to D conversion process. So it is important that the output is in the form of binary codes, and each transmitted binary code represents a particular amplitude of the input signal. So hence, in the case of your A to D conversion, the information is contained in the code which is being to be transmitted, like 111, 101. These in this type of codes we have some information. Then the output waveform you can see this the amplitude here is here 7, approximately 7. Then it will be in the form of binaries 111, and 101 5 will be written in 101, and at this point this is 2, and 2 will be written in your binary 3-bit binary is 010. So 111 3 pulses are high, then 101, then 010, then 0001, then 001 again, and then 010. So as you can see, the range of the input signal magnitudes is divided into 8 levels. Actually 0 to 7, there are 8 levels. So we have 8 levels in that, and each level is denoted by 3 bit, means 000 to 111. The input signal XT is actually sampled, and if the sample is in the fifth window of the amplitude, then the digital word 101 is transmitted. Means word 5 means window 5, or you can say means having the amplitude 5, then we will write it into the 3-bit form, 3-bit binary form as 101. And in this example, actually we have converted all the amplitudes into 3 bits, 3-bit codes. But actually we can also use bits per word can be high as 8, 9 or 10. So the code words shown actually in the figure is 3-bit number. So it is possible to introduce one more bit to indicate the sign of the signal. Next is error. Now because the input signal is quantized, so that there is always rounding of process is done. So there will be also possibility of your error. So due to the approximation taking place in the quantization process, the A to D conversion introduces some errors. Such errors are non-reversible, and it is not possible to produce actually the exact replica of the analog signal at the receiver. So we should minimize these errors by selecting a proper sampling weight and the number of the quantization levels. So means error depends upon the number of quantization levels, and we should done the sampling in the proper way. Next is your modulation process. Actually, modulation process consists of two parts. One is your modulation, and second is your demodulation. Modulation is always done on the transmitter side, and whereas the demodulation is always done on the receiver side. Next is your types of modulation. There are two types of modulation. One is continuous wave modulation or analog modulation, and second is your pulse modulation. In continuous wave modulation, we have amplitude modulation, angle modulation, and the angle modulation is further divided into two parts: frequency modulation and phase modulation. Next is pulse modulation. Pulse modulation is that type of modulation in which carrier is used as in the form of your pulses. So analog type pulse modulation is like PAM, PDM, PPM. PAM stands for pulse amplitude modulation. PDM stands for your pulse duration modulation. PPM stands for your pulse position modulation. Next, digital type pulse modulation is like PCM, DM, ADM. PCM stands for pulse code modulation. Then DM stands for delta modulation. ADM stands for your adaptive delta modulation. Now, next concept is here. What is the comparison of actually analog and digital modulation? Actually, in case of analog modulation, the transmitted modulated signal is in analog in nature, whereas in case of digital modulation, it will be of your train of digital pulses. And the analog modulation type will be ASK, FS, AM, FM, PM. These all are the analog. And in case of digital, amplitude, width, or position of the transmitted pulses is constant. So the message transmitted in the form of your pulses. Next is noise immunity, poor in case for FM, but improved for FM and PM in case of analog modulation. And the noise immunity is excellent in case of digital modulation. Next point difference is that an analog modulation is not possible to separate out noise and signals, therefore repeaters can't be used. So, and in case of digital modulation, we can separate out the noise from the signal, and therefore repeaters can be used. Next, in analog modulation, coding is not possible, but we can apply the coding techniques in case of your digital modulation. Next is your bandwidth. Bandwidth required in case of analog modulation is lower than that of your digital, whereas digital modulation requires high bandwidth, or you can say higher bit rates. Next is your analog modulation system uses the FDM, means frequency division multiplexing, whereas digital modulation uses the TDM, means time division multiplexing. And next is here analog modulation is not suitable for the transmission of secret data, but due to the coding techniques, digital signals can be used for the sending the secret information in case of military applications. Next, in analog modulation systems, actually are like AM, FM, PM, PAM, PWM. These all are analog modulation. And in the digital modulation, we will have PCM, DM, ADM, and DPCM. Differential pulse code. DPCM stands for differential pulse code modulation. Next is here. Next topic is here electromagnetic spectrum. As you can see, this is the electromagnetic spectrum in which we have shown the different frequencies. Means the communication is done using this frequency spectrum, and we have the from 30 to 30 kilohertz. We have the low frequencies, and the medium frequencies will be started from 300 kilohertz to 300 kilohertz to 300 megahertz. Then high frequencies like 3 megahertz to 300 gigahertz to 300 gigahertz. So we have the spectrum divided into ELF, extremely low frequency, then VLF, LF, then is MF, medium frequency, high frequency, very high frequency, ultra high frequency, super high frequency, extremely high frequency, and very low frequency, very low frequency. And these are the for the this range is for the millimeter waves. Then this is range for the infrared. This is for the visible light and frequency. This is the X-rays, gamma rays, and these are the frequency band which is used for the X-rays, gamma rays, and these are the wavelengths shown. And the communication is done using the electromagnetic spectrum. Next is you can see extremely low ELF has the frequency range from 30 to 300 hertz, and the wavelength is 10 raised to power 7 to 10 raised to power 6 meter. VF stands for voice frequencies, VLF for very low frequencies, LF low frequencies, MF medium frequencies, and HF high frequencies, very high frequencies, ultra high frequencies, super high frequencies, extremely high frequencies, and infrared and visible. So frequency band are given like for medium it's 300 kilohertz to 3 megahertz. For extremely high it is from 30 to 300 gigahertz. Means giga means 10 raised to power 9, and the corresponding wavelengths are given for that band. And these shows the segments of the electromagnetic spectrum. Next, last is here. These are the frequency band, means same as ELF, VF, VLF, LF, MF, and so on. And the wavelength. These are the wavelength given for that, and the applications for ELF. For ELF, we have ELF is used for the power transmission, whereas VF is used for the audio application. Then VLF is used for the military, submarine, navy applications. Then LF band is used for aeronautical, marine navigation applications. Then MF band is used for AM radio broadcast and aeronautical communication, marine communication. Next, HF band is used for shortwave transmission and citizen band communication. CB means citizen band communication. Next is VHF is used for TV broadcasting, FM broadcasting. Next, UHF band is used for UHF TV channels, cellular phones, military applications. Next band, SHF band. SHF band is used for satellite communication and radar. And the last band, extremely high frequency band, is used for satellites and specialized radars. So these were the some of the applications of your corresponding frequency bands, and always communication is done in the electromagnetic spectrum, and this diagram shows the radio frequency spectrum.